Thanks again. It's awesome to be here today. I'm a little bit nervous because I'm also the business guy. So I kind of felt like I might be walking into the wolves, but I've been here before, so there's a little bit of a comfort level. Um, I'm not, I haven't always been the business guy though. I think most of my career has been as a marketer, and then a marketer turned analyst. I had a role very similar to Matt's, and I fell in love with the analytics, and then decided to jump over to the software side that actually helps drive the analytics. But before all of that, I started my career in St. Louis, basically starting the first 3 radio station websites back in the mid-'90s when there were only about 5 or 6 radio station websites in the country. So there's a sense in which content was where I started. So it's kind of cool to be back in a world of content and discussing how to make content applicable to the audience. So that's where I started. And I'd actually like to ask you to think back maybe 50 or 100 years ago to journalism and how journalism was distributed decades ago. And think of this kid that stood outside and sold your product. And he was smart. He was probably an analyst in many senses of the words because he got a box or a stack of papers in the morning, and how much money he could make was dependent upon how many of those he could turn over in the day. So he may have been the first analyst for journalists, if you think about it. This guy might have gotten those papers and he might have thought, okay, where am I going to go in Columbia? Am I going to go stand out in front of City Hall and sell, let everybody see the dirt we're slinging at them? Or am I going to go to 9th and Ash? Am I going to go to the county building? Is there a little bit more money there? Am I going to go to 9th and Elm? The J School, sales are low. Let's go ahead and sell some to the J School students, right? They'll buy it. Or do I go to a busier corner where a bunch of businessmen might be walking by and want to grab something before they head into the office for the day? He's analyzing the audience. He is doing exactly what you need to do today. And the business hasn't changed. The only thing that's changed is the world that you have to send that content into. The distribution has changed. So the paper is still there, but there's a heck of a lot of other options. That 27 times a day that somebody that's looking at one type of media is changing media, or 27 times at a time. Think about each of us. That's what we do every day with our media. I'm sitting on the couch at night holding my 1-year-old, trying to put him to sleep, watching the Cardinals game, looking through Twitter, checking my Facebook, reading a couple of news articles. I grab my laptop to finish up some work email. That's exactly what I do for a couple of hours every evening. The only thing that's changed is the landscape of where that content goes and where the audiences find it. So that's what we do at Adobe Consulting. That's why I actually feel a little bit more comfortable being here today, because my clients that I've worked with for several years when I was a consultant before becoming a manager of consultants, like Best Buy, like Target, like Disney, they don't face any different challenge than journalism does today. Retailers, the evil business people in retail, you might say, they have these big boxes with a heck of a lot of infrastructure and cost structure that they're trying to support. A lot of hourly employees standing there trying to sell product that Amazon is actually selling more efficiently and cheaper to a bigger audience right now. So they have similar challenges. Analytics are just as important for the clients that I've become accustomed to working with as they are for journalists. Our team that I help to manage is 100 consultants across America that deal with retail, travel, high-tech, media, and entertainment. And we don't like to look at it at those verticals. We like to look at it as the business model and the way that we're supporting the business. So are you in commerce? Are you trying to sell something direct? Are you trying to develop a subscription model, a freemium to a premium conversion type of model? Are you trying to sell content? Are you trying to sell ads on content? Are you trying to generate leads to sell a big item? Those are the business models that we try to develop the analytics support structures for. So that's kind of the world that I'm in now. And if you've been in the business a while and you've touched analytics before, my part of the business used to be known as Omniture. So it was nice to see the old Omniture green on Matt's slide. It's now the Adobe Marketing Cloud. We're keeping the green. But a lot of people in the room might be more familiar with the creative side of what we've been doing for 30 plus years at Adobe. The Photoshops of the world, the InDesigns, all the products that help and solutions that help you create and make, and manage content. We put that together over the last few years with the side that helps you measure and analyze. And it's no big surprise that one of our biggest client bases is in media and entertainment, because the intersection of putting those two things together is exactly why we're here today. So taking the making and the managing of the content and combining it with the measurement and the monetization of that content, the business side of journalism, is really what we do in our DNA at Adobe. So I engage in, like I mentioned, that marketing cloud side of the business. We actually have more than analytics. So analytics is kind of a foundational piece, but there's a lot of media companies that are laying on top of that things like our Experience Manager content management platform, the targeting and optimization and testing capabilities within the target product. Social, I'll actually show some stuff in social later that I think is really applicable to journalism and using data to influence the way that you're promoting your content through social. Media Optimizer for managing your media spend to promote your materials, and Campaign, which is our newest side, which is a personalized marketing engine. So our media and entertainment customers are some of the biggest media companies that are out there. These are the ones that have given us permission to talk about them in public. There's obviously a lot more. The interesting thing about this, though, is most of the people that use our tool set in analytics, kind of to Matt's point just now, are on the business side of the fence. They're not in the editorial side of the house. So even when I did some consulting with some of our media clients and some of our magazines and newspaper publishers, my clients and the business questions that they were coming in and saying, here's what I need analytics to answer for me, had nothing to do with the content. It had everything to do with how to maximize the advertising dollar to the audience. And there's something very interesting about that wall that I think we're talking about today. How do we kind of cross and jump across that wall and use tools from both sides? So I was actually asked to talk about data-informed journalism, and Brad sent me an email a couple weeks ago while we were preparing and said, can you make sure it's informed? And I don't know if it's true, but I read into that a little bit of a warning of trying not to say, like, I'm not going to try to say that data has to, dictate exactly what you do. I would never do that. As a consumer of media, as a person that loves living in a free country, it's really important to me to keep media what media is, but that also means it's really important to me to help keep media alive. So I would actually then ask you, if it's not data-informed journalism, what else informs journalism? Data might be one of many things, but let's not say that it's just data. And I would think that maybe some of the things that you practice or that you're learning might be your gut informs your journalism. Just kind of the smell of a story. Your passions, the things that are important to you in the world around you, inform journalism. Family, community, neighborhood informs journalism. But that's all data. In a sense, I think journalists get data better than almost any of the rest of us in industry, because you love data, you smell data, you turn all the pieces of data that you can into a quality story. And basically what I think we're proposing is there's a lot of data out there that you might be missing. So that's actually what I'm going to talk about a little bit more the rest of my time. And actually, before I do that, I want to tell a secret, because I feel this myself. So this is one of my own secrets. So I guess I have to say this is off the record. Oh, okay. So on the live stream, here you go. Somebody's going to do this. Who's from St. Louis? Is anybody here from St. Louis? Okay. I'm from the Illinois side of St. Louis. So you guys know that's where the West County people, the Claytonites, the Chesterfielders, you won't cross the bridges unless it's for some evil purpose. But I fret the fact that our newspapers have died. There's pretty much one company that controls newspapers in the St. Louis region. All of our community dailies are gone. And I think it affects my community and the communities around me, because we don't even know what's happening in City Hall anymore. It's that bad. So my secret is and this is the business guy in the room saying this, someday I want to found and publish news on the Illinois side of St. Louis. We need it that badly. My kids need that in their world that badly, but I'm scared. I'm scared because I look at the numbers and I wonder how I can make it viable. I wonder, how on earth can I do this? How can I, talking to my friends that are journalists, how can I support the way that they know that it needs to run and make it work? So my gut, I think someday is going to inform my journalism just as much as data if I decide to flip the switch and try that later in my career. So I'd like to ask you to think about 10 days ago. 10 days ago is the little spike on that chart. This is a few of our major media properties. And see if anybody remembers what happened 10 days ago that made hits the Navy Yard. Yeah, this room would remember what happened 10 days ago. That's a big jump in the context of 2 months of traffic to major media properties. Okay, so that's a big audience, a big opportunity. Here's another visualization of it. Those are the hours of that day over the course of, I think it was like the whole month. So, there's a peak. Here's the hourly view. There's the hours of that day over the course of a few days around it. I mean, those hours when that event was happening was a big opportunity. People turned to the importance of good media, of news, of journalism. Here's what people in those newsrooms might have missed that day, that a few of us picked up on. The people that came into some of those major properties to read about the Navy Yard shootings had a lot more page views, a lot more experience with those media outlets than they had for days and days around that. They went much deeper than just one page view or a second page view coming back later and checking. Those people very, very frequently then explored other content around the Colorado floods, around Miss America, and all the discussions around what happened around that event. This was a big opportunity that I think some media companies accidentally were able to benefit from, and I think others that are on the cutting edge of using data to optimize the different opportunities that people see around their content, were able to actually take advantage of and convert into even more opportunity for them that day. Right? Just in that one day, that one event, people coming in for one very specific thing and being able to pull them deeper and deeper into your site and content. The thing that I didn't want to go into and show just because of the privacy of the data of our clients is how much of that was able to turn into subscriptions, right? How much of that became trust of those institutions that had not been there before. And that happens. We see that happen in the data. So I want to go into some actionable things and spend a little bit of time on some recommendations of things that you can actually take back to the newsroom right away. And basically what I'm going to do is, some of the screenshots are a generation or two ago of our product. As Brad knows, he works with some of the teams here that use the old Omniture stuff. It's gotten even prettier. But these are some of the fundamental things that we give to our media companies when they start to use the software. So I thought I'll share some of those here. At the end, I'll share some other ideas. So first, kind of to that last story, content and content influence. So optimizing the content of your site to drive success. So basically, how can you use the content to get either incremental engagement or to get incremental conversion? So we would measure the different pieces of content as you look down through the list of elements. So this article or this category, or all of these different dimensions or types of content. How much traffic is it? How many visitors does it represent? And then you would even now be able to dive further to the point of audience into what kinds of people are that in that type of content. And then other metrics then that tie into other things further in your site. What of this content is driving subscriptions? What of this content is driving a second page view, a third page view, a fourth page view, and on what types of content? So content and content influence, it gives you that opportunity to basically optimize dead-end pages, dead-end content, to inform, are there topic areas that our audience is really passionate about? Or to look into it from the other side and look into a very specific segment of your audience and start there and say, what is the content that audience is interested in, what types of categories, and is it local or is it national? So that's one. That's kind of these are our fundamentals. These are how we start to encourage people to tiptoe into the analytics. So this is the starting point. Another of those fundamentals, kind of along the similar lines, same idea, but at a different level, is the sections of the site or other hierarchy elements or attributes of those pieces of content. So what are the most popular sections or types, pieces of content, or categories, I guess I should say, of content? And again, our practice within Adobe Consulting is separated into those of us that focus on analytics and then those that focus on optimization. So, we would basically, in any of our clients, be nurturing people that are good at using these tools and reading the data that then work with someone, in the newsroom, this could be two different people or the same person that's then thinking through how do we act on this? Because the analytics is really, it just sits there. There's no ROI. There's nothing until you look at it and decide, oh, wow, there's something here that I could act on. Content affinity. So to that slide with the 3 different stories that people were commonly cycling through, what do visitors navigate through very commonly together? What kind of content tied together for these different segments of my audience is really important. And I keep coming back to audience because this is all traffic, but the tools have advanced in such a way, these solutions have advanced in such a way that you can also then kind of escape out of that and look at what those segments of visitors are doing. I was thinking when Matt was talking about the gold or the coin story, this last Monday at my oldest son's Cub Scout meeting, one of the scouts brought in for their show and tell his coin collection. He's 8 years old. So there's that audience, the affinity of people to audience. As he told that story, I thought, I know an 8-year-old that's collecting coins. So featured content analysis. So the things that you're taking and putting into very specific places on your site, modules, category pages, things like that, where you're featuring things, how is it impacting, right? That's, I'm basically saying, like, what should be your lead, or what should be on the front page, what should be above the fold. You have those same questions on the website. The things that you're featuring, can be informed by data. That has nothing to do with the way that you tell the story. It has everything to do with how you position it within the experience, within the layout of the page or the site. External campaigns. So, and this is a fundamental because most of the audience that we're typically dealing with are the business people in media, right? So all of a sudden the fundamentals very quickly turn towards how do we get more of the valuable people that might become subscriptions or might do something that is of business value to us, even if that is much more and more page views, more depth of content in order to have more advertising opportunity. So external campaigns, which campaigns are bringing those high value people? So as I'm pushing content or I'm pushing even banner ads out there saying subscribe and get a free Cardinals backpack, what's working, what's not? Internal search optimization. I think across the board, every business model, whether it's media, whether it's retail, whether it's high tech, optimizing what's happening on the search box on your website is one of the most underutilized things. Just the sheer number of people that go to a website and they're interested in finding about something very specific and they search for it. And one of the biggest retailers in the world that I consulted for in the past, my wife was trying to find a CD player for our kids' room and search CD player on their website. Nothing. Biggest opportunity right there. If I were to come to your site today and search for something that's a key story happening today, what happens? What happens? Do I get a list of articles that kind of meet that? Do I get a page where you've laid out something that kind of ties together all the different aspects of the story and how you've covered it? Think about that search box on your website and what's happening when I type some story or topic into it. Other key media fundamentals, things that we cover, so I'm not doing individual slides on these, but then we start to look at it by what are people doing on the different devices. And one of the biggest questions that I know our media clients ask today is how are we tying these data sets together amongst the person that might get the paper in the front yard in the morning, they're reading it on the tablet on the subway to work, they check it on the phone while they're sitting there at the desk at work, they're on the desktop, all those different places that I'm exploring a story throughout the day, how am I as one reader experiencing that? So tying together the story of that audience member across all those different devices. Like I said earlier on the content, other dimensions or other slices or attributes of the content piece, like the author or the source that it came from, um, the ratings on it, the feedback on it, the audience engagement on it, how often it leads to frequent returns. So, is there content, are there types of content that often lead to people coming back to my site tomorrow rather than just being a one-time visitor? User-generated content, viral content, the maturity of your content, when it decays, when you hit that point where it starts to taper off, you're featuring it on a main category page and all of a sudden nobody's interested in it anymore. Those are all things that you can make choices about of how you're presenting your content. Even the days and the times. I know we have some pubs that are totally changing their category pages and the articles that they're featuring by the time of day, and the different audiences that are there on different times of days. I learned that in my radio days. Morning drive and afternoon drive are two totally different beasts. The traffic sources. The other things that are actually missing from here that are deeper, they're beyond our fundamentals, but we see people frequently asking about are the time spent on the site. That's a big one for some of the case studies I'm going to talk about in a little bit. Depth of read, so how far down the article they got, right? So if I'm scrolling down the page, did I get halfway through that article or did I go the whole way? To give you a sense of how much is your audience interested in reading as far as content goes. Which we've also launched a lot of innovation at Adobe the last couple of years around measuring where people are getting in your video streams as well. So other types of media, obviously. And just the focus, like the whether it's local or regional or national, all those different attributes. So Google's going to show up on the screens a lot today, I have a feeling. So this is how my mom navigates the internet. This isn't just how my mom navigates the internet, but it's how my sister, who's younger than me, navigates the internet. She goes to the Google search bar and she types something, right? She doesn't go to stltoday.com or wsj.com or whatever. She goes to Google and types St. Louis murder. And if I were to do that a few days ago, nobody has really optimized anything about any news in St. Louis to me about murders, except the Riverfront Times is getting some great traffic on people that are looking for, a story that might have happened last night. It's an interesting news outlet in St. Louis to be getting traffic on the term St. Louis murder, right? So where your stories are being distributed beyond your newsroom, that distribution slide and that thought from the beginning, it's really important to think about. Optimizing your pages and your content to have search engines pick up on it, because then if I were to do something, obviously a much bigger story, something that Google is re-indexing on much more frequently, but people are ready for it, they're capitalizing on it, and you'll see bigger orgs that show up here. There's my CNN, there's my New York Times, there's my Reuters. As soon as Google's picking up on that opportunity of news on a big event, but if I were to do the same thing on products, I'm going to see a lot of retailers that are ready. If I do the same thing looking for a type of insurance, I'm going to see a lot of insurance companies that are ready. But if I do it on certain stories that are very timely, I'm not going to see news outlets that have done a good job of capitalizing on where that news is being distributed. So another thing about distribution today is social. So I'll actually turn back and show a couple screenshots of some of our solutions really quickly, our Adobe Social, and some of the features that we've launched there that I think are really powerful for journalists. This has nothing to do with news, but basically we've started to type in one of our demo environments for like this outdoor retail kind of idea, the tweet, "Gone hiking this year." And what Adobe Social will do for me now is based upon the outcomes that have happened on previous tweets with different language for my audience, as well as the language on pages of my site that my audience refers to. It will automatically tell me that for the metrics that I've chosen, whether it's likes or comments or shares or clicks or whatever, how many it's going to predict through predictive modeling, bringing the data scientist into the newsroom, that I might get. So I can type, my tweet about a story that I want to try to promote. And today, Adobe Social will tell me how many clicks, how many likes, how many comments it thinks that I will get. Very soon, it will also tell me, today it will also tell me an ideal time that it proposes that I tweet that to get the maximum result. And then I can say, if I do this an hour later, what will the results look like? Very soon, it will also propose words. So it will actually kind of be your editor in a sense. It will tell you if you change these 2 words in the tweet, you might get more clicks. So all through predictive modeling that's happening in the software in the background. Again, data kind of informed, but before I click to actually share that update, I can make my choice of whether to take that recommendation or not. So a few success stories from our client base that I thought would be great to share. This slide actually has a whole bunch of them from NBC, seeing they've been big partners of us with Olympics content and the apps through which you could experience all the different content around the Olympics this last time around. So 250% increase in unique visitors to Olympics content. Part of this was driven by the fact that they had a great experience. Part of this is part of the symptom of the fact that people are doing multi-device use of content nowadays. But understanding that growth, understanding the audience that's there is important regardless of the cause of that statistic. MTV increasing mobile page views by 10%. They do a ton with us as well. ESPN, one of our biggest clients, just simply the number of mobile fans a month on all their different app experiences, 15 different apps. Condé, I'm going to talk about them in a second. So Fast Company, magazine, that almost every single one of us business guys will pick up at the airport as we're heading to a flight once a month. Realized that I'd rather read it on my 7-inch tablet on flight than pick up the magazine. So they're using the digital publishing suite in order to publish, to create a companion app. They partner with a design firm that basically takes the magazine content and turn it into something that's engaging on the tablet, but then they use the analytics to actually change the contents of that digital version of the magazine in reaction to what's happening the way that people are using it that month. So they have now increased subscriptions for print versions as a result of in parallel with the fact that they've increased the way and the usage and the way that people are using the mobile app experience or the mobile publish experience. Condé is basically working with us on an entire end-to-end program. I think a lot of people in media have probably heard the story about Condé and their audience maximization programs as well, and the way that they now basically have packaged their audience across all of their different publications and have them available in a very efficient way. And they've kind of opened that up to the whole marketing community to have access to and use. So they are using analytics not just to power those digital experiences and inform them, but also to package their audience and make it very efficient to sell exposure to their audience. It's interesting, I kind of felt bad, quite honestly, that both of the really big case studies that people are willing to talk about are magazines, right? They're not newspapers. But I think that's interesting too, because part of it is a lot of our newspaper clients are probably going to be less apt to talk about what they're doing with it, just by culture. But also, I think the magazines are on more of a cutting edge of exploring the digital because they have the opportunity and they have the expertise of researching layouts and doing different things in what they do from month to month to month. So I think there's even a sense to which newspaper can learn from magazine a little bit in that world as well. So to summarize, really, there's again 2 themes here. I think that's running through the day. There's a ton of business. There's a ton of what journalism can be pulling from what we do with our retailers, with B2B clients, with travel companies, and the need to keep people coming into those big box stores, need to keep people buying the travel experience. All of those different business models are undergoing this shift. All of them are utilizing data, and journalism is no different. There's a huge opportunity for journalism to turn to data and maximize their use of it to inform what they're doing, to inform the way that they present the content, and to be there for my kids. So thank you.